A metal city the size of 5 skyscrapers lies hidden in the open ocean, its 5,300 crew racing around the clock to launch $80 million jets on decks no bigger than a supermarket. On the USS Gerald R. There are no weekends, no real silence, just 140 decibels of afterburner and 18,000 meals devoured daily as lives run on war's tempo, not the sun. How do you eat, work, and sleep inside a machine built for 25 years without rest? You know the power. Now discover what it actually costs to survive at sea. Commissioned in July 2017, the USS Gerald R. stretches nearly a quarter of a mile from bow to stern and towers as high as a 20-story building above the waterline. Its steel hull displaces more than 100,000 tons, heavier than the largest ocean liners ever built. The ship's twin A-1B nuclear reactors churn out over 100 megawatts of electricity, enough to power a small city of 70,000 homes. Yet every watt is consumed by the needs of the ship itself. Deep inside, this floating metropolis holds more than 5,300 people, each with a role to play in keeping the carrier alive and mission-ready. Passageways run for miles. Elevators the size of 2-bedroom apartments lift fighter jets between decks. Entire neighborhoods rise and fall with the tides of daily operations. Machine shops, medical clinics, post office, barber shop, chapel, and even its own television station. There are no weekends, no true off hours, only a relentless cycle of activity that sustains 24-hour flight operations. The Ford's self-sufficiency is its defining feature. Nuclear power means the ship can circle the globe for a quarter century without refueling. Water, electricity, food, and air are all generated or recycled within the hull. Every system is scaled up to city proportions, from desalination plants producing hundreds of thousands of gallons of fresh water daily, to galleys that serve 18,000 meals every day. In this world of steel and machinery, the rules of ordinary life are rewritten. Here, survival depends not just on technology, but on the unbroken rhythm of thousands working together, every hour, every day, with no horizon but the open sea. Jet engines scream across steel less than 4 acres wide. On the flight deck, the world narrows to a painted launch box crammed with aircraft worth over $80 million each. Every move is measured in seconds. The electromagnetic aircraft launch system, or EMALS, replaces the old steam catapults with magnetic force, flinging up to 240 sorties a day into the sky. The pace never lets up. Crews in heavy helmets and color-coded jerseys hustle between spinning propellers and jet exhaust, eyes fixed on hand signals and blinking lights. FA-18 Super Hornets hit afterburner, sending shockwaves of 140 decibels, enough to rattle bones, drown out shouted warnings, and leave ears ringing long after a shift ends. Double layers of hearing protection become as essential as oxygen. Out here, mistakes cost lives and millions in hardware. The deck never empties. Launch, recover, refuel, rearm, then do it again. Every cycle means another wave of jets, another round of hazards, another hour without pause. For the crew, time is measured not by sunrise or meal breaks, but by the relentless rhythm of launches and landings. Sleep, food, even a moment's quiet are all dictated by the next sortie. The only constant is the roar, steel, engines, and adrenaline, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Life aboard the Ford orbits around this tempo, every need subsumed by the demand to keep aircraft flying, no matter the hour or the cost. Before sunrise, the heartbeat of the ship pulses in the galley. 90 culinary specialists, some on their 15th hour, move in a dance as old as the Navy itself, cracking eggs by the crate, hauling sacks of potatoes, loading racks of bread into ovens the size of small cars. Each day, they will plate nearly 18,000 meals, enough to feed a city. Over a 90-day deployment, the crew burns through 1.2 million eggs, 350,000 pounds of fresh produce, and 800 tons of frozen goods. The numbers are staggering, but the work is personal. One chef might spend hours at a prep table, turning out omelets for the breakfast rush, while another slides 600 pounds of prime rib into a rotary oven, already thinking about the next meal cycle. The galley runs around the clock, fueled by a relentless schedule and the knowledge that a hot meal can mean the difference between exhaustion and endurance. Every meal is a logistical operation. Pallet elevators bring up stores from deep within the ship, while teams coordinate to keep the lines moving on the mess decks. Enlisted sailors crowd into long, bright halls, trays in hand, while chiefs and officers slip into quieter wardrooms for a brief moment of calm. Even at midnight, the galley hums. Mid-rats keep the night shift going, and a creative chef might whip up grilled cheese or pancakes from whatever's left in the stores. Morale rises and falls with the food. A good meal after a long watch can make the steel seem a little less cold. For the crew of the Ford, the galley is more than a kitchen. It's the city's heart, beating steady through every hour at sea. Deep within the hull, the Ford's engineering division monitors a set of gauges more important than any clock: the desalination output meters. Every hour, these machines draw seawater from the Atlantic and convert it into between 200,000 and 400,000 gallons of fresh water, a lifeline for over 5,000 people. This water cools nuclear reactors, powers the galley steam kettles, fills laundry machines, and trickles from taps across the ship. Yet, despite being surrounded by ocean, every drop is precious. The daily allowance for each sailor averages less than 60 gallons, far below what most Americans use at home. When a desalination unit falters, the ship's routine pivots in an instant. Announcements echo through passageways, water hours in effect. Showers are rationed, laundry postponed, and even food preparation shifts to conserve supply. Sailors line up for the Navy shower, a ritual as old as carrier life itself. Water on, soap up, water off, all in under 2 minutes. There's no privacy in the head. Open showers mean 20 or more sharing the same space, with unwritten rules enforcing speed and silence. Toilets operate on vacuum systems, feeding into marine sanitation devices that process thousands of flushes a day. A single clog can disable an entire compartment, forcing detours and raising the risk of hygiene problems. Mold, fungus, and blocked drains aren't just annoyances. They threaten the health of whole divisions. For the engineers, keeping the desalination plant humming is a mission-critical task. The comfort of the floating city depends on machines most never see, and when they stop, everyone feels it. Every enlisted sailor learns to make peace with the rack, a steel box just 78 inches long, 30 inches wide, and only 18 inches high. There's no room to sit up, no space to stretch. 60 to 120 racks fill each compartment, stacked in silent rows, 3 high. Red lights glow overhead, casting everything in perpetual twilight, meant to help tired eyes adjust between night and day. Sleep comes in fragments, carved into 5 or 6 hours total, broken by alarms, footsteps, or the thunder of jets overhead. The noise below the flight deck often pushes past 140 decibels, so loud that conversation is impossible, and earplugs become a second skin. In these crowded bays, privacy is a memory, and the only sanctuary is behind a thin curtain. Sailors joke about learning to sleep through anything, except the general alarm. For many, rest is less about comfort and more about endurance. A chief petty officer stands at the center of the chaos as 2 ships draw alongside, separated by a gap barely wider than a tennis court. Underway replenishment, UNREP, begins with cables shot across the sea and lines of crew hauling hoses and cargo nets. In less than 6 hours, up to 700 pallets of food and supplies, 100,000 gallons of aviation fuel, and 20,000 pounds of mail will cross from supply ship to carrier, all while both vessels steam at 20 knots. The Ford's air wing burns through more than 1 million gallons of fuel daily, so this choreography never stops for weather or fatigue. The chief calls cadence, keeping teams moving in rhythm, while 3-section rotations push one group to work, another to train, and a third to rest. Between evolutions, small rituals like midnight meals, mid-rats, or steel beach picnics on the flight deck offer a brief pause. These moments, carved from relentless motion, remind the crew they are more than just parts in a machine. Every day aboard the USS Gerald R. Over 5,300 sailors rely on 18,000 meals, 400,000 gallons of fresh water, and a supply chain that can deliver 700 pallets of food in a single operation. These numbers, drawn from official Navy reports and deployment logs, reveal the enormous scale of life at sea. Yet, much about daily routines and the stresses of continuous operations remains classified or unrecorded, especially regarding crew fatigue and long-term health. What is clear is that the carrier's endurance depends not only on nuclear engines and advanced technology, but on the discipline and resilience of its people. The evidence shows that every flight, every meal, and every hour of rest sustains a mission that projects power worldwide. In the end, the hidden cost of this capability is measured not just in dollars or machinery, but in the daily sacrifices made by those who live and work in the middle of the ocean.